Well, all right, everyone. Hello. I'm over here turned around. I don't know where I put my water. That's okay. We'll be all right. Welcome to the Scoreboard. Yay! You made it to another episode. Good to hear from you. 844-STUDIO-4 is the phone number. It's if you want to talk about something. You know, whatever you want to do. It's up to you guys. 844-788-3464. That is the number. Get you here on the home address, on the scoreboard. You know, I got my brain all in a jumble today. What a day it's been. This is the Scoreboard. 844-STUDIO-4. That's 844-788-3464. There's a lot to talk about today. A lot of things going on in the world of sports, man. There is a relocation that has been approved. It is official as of a few hours ago in the NHL. I may have talked about it a little bit, but we'll chat a little bit more about what team we're looking at moving to a new home for next year. And this is going to happen quick. This is going to be an off-season turnaround. So starting in the 2024-2025 season, there will be a different team out there in the NHL. Whew, man, that's going to be fun. Not expansion. You got to remember that. It's not an expansion team. It's a relocation. Kind of like what happened to Atlanta. They moved to Winnipeg. That's what's happening to this team. They're moving to another state. We're going to talk about that a little bit because it's some big news. 844-STUDIO-4, that is the phone number to get you into the show and part of the program. Also, we are going to get into NASCAR. I know I've been saying I'm going to do my NASCAR previewing. It's Talladega week. Well, what else are you going to talk about with Talladega? It's not like you can go on the trends. The trends say they're going to crash, and that's about all you need to know. There's going to be a lot of crashes, but we may... I'm not going to say it. But I am going to say it. We might be looking at a Monday afternoon Talladega race. I'm sure you know why. If you understand what goes on with NASCAR, I want to understand why every single track does not have lights. That doesn't make any sense to me. Talladega, if you put nights on that track and had a 6:30 start time, you'd sell out every single time because that would be awesome. Talladega, Daytona does a night race. Why not Talladega? Michigan doesn't have any lights. Why? Why are there no lights? Dover. How Dover doesn't have any lights, I will never understand. And we're going to be going there in a few weeks. So we'll talk about NASCAR, what's going on around the league. The NBA play-in games, we had a couple of those last night with the Philadelphia 76ers just barely beating Miami 105-104. They advance. They will be playing the New York Knicks in the first round as the 7 seed. The Knicks are the 2 seed. And then also last night, Chicago, the Bulls, beating Atlanta. How about that? The Bulls move on. Now, the Bulls aren't going into the playoffs just yet. They do have one more play-in game that they have to do. It's going to be Chicago versus Miami. That coming up tomorrow night. And then in the West, we have Sacramento and New Orleans. That is the other play-in game to see who the 8 seed's going to be. We'll talk a little bit about the NBA. I still don't think that the play-in tournament is necessary. I think it's actually a hindrance on the league, and they need to get rid of it immediately. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also, we got high school baseball going on. Nobody in the area really showing out this year. It's been a rough baseball season in this area. Nobody playing tonight, really. Maybe there's a few other teams around the area. So if you know somebody, a school, a player who's playing, go ahead and let me know. 844-STUDIO-4. We'll talk about it. We talk about everything here on the Scoreboard. Also, we're going to get into lacrosse. That is where the action seems to be in the local area. A lot of teams in the top 100 nationally in lacrosse. And they just keep getting better and better. Lake Norman, South Meck. We got, Charlotte schools, which aren't really in our listening range, but still we got to shout them out. We're also going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the NFL. We are 1 week away from the draft. Yes, next Thursday, the NFL draft. We haven't done much draft coverage yet. Well, mostly because the number 1 pick that the Panthers have, it's not their pick. It belongs to the Chicago Bears. And I know a lot of you, just like me, are very upset about that. But we'll continue talking about the draft. We'll get into it next week. It's really just a 1-day event. I mean, well, a two-day event, 3-day event. Because I guess if you hit on day 3, you can have yourself a Brock Purdy or a Tom Brady. You never know. Anyway, 844-STUDIO-4. Call me up if you want to chat. We're going to get into the high school baseball scene. Only one game in the area today of teams that we talk about every single day, and that would be North Iredell. Tonight, they're taking on West Rowan, coming off of a loss against Hickory 5-4 on Tuesday. 5-8 is the record for North Iredell. I don't believe that they're going to be able to make the playoffs with that. Even if they win out, it's going to be really tough because they're 6th in the conference right now, and everybody in front of them, they're pretty far in front. The only team 1 game ahead is St. Stephen's, and then you have North Lincoln, Ford, and East Lincoln all ahead of North Iredell. Also West Iredell ahead of them as well. So it's going to be tough to make the playoffs there. But you know what? Those tournaments that are coming up at the end of the regular season, you never know. You win them, and there you go. Look at what NC State did, right? Yeah. Anyway, Lake Norman High School sitting at 10-10. Mooresville High School 4-17. Statesville 0-17. 6-9 for West Iredell. And South Iredell, the only school of the ones that we talk about every day above 500, sitting at currently 11-7, 3rd in the 4A Greater Metro Conference. That conference has kind of evened itself out here. Remember, it was the conference we were talking about that had the top 3 combined for like an 18-1 record, and the bottom 3 in the conference combined for like an 0-15 record. It was something insane. The separation there was big, but we don't have that anymore. Everything's kind of tightening up, which puts South Iredell 1 game behind Hickory Ridge for 2nd in the conference. Coxville High School still has not lost a conference game. They sit at 14-3 overall, 24th best team in the state of North Carolina. So it's going to be hard to knock them off their throne, but plenty of time left in the season. We got until about next 2 weeks from now before we talk about playoff baseball coming up, as well as playoff lacrosse, which we will be getting into next because we are coming up on our first commercial break of the day. Stay tuned. We're going to get into the lacrosse scene, tell you who's ranked nationally in the area. There's a few of them, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to The Scoreboard, and we will be back right after this.
This guy knows his sports, right? There's more of The Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, staying mild in the overnight hours as temperatures dip down to around 60. Again, with a mostly clear sky. For our Friday, we're still warm. Not quite as warm as our Thursday, though. A partly cloudy sky with temperatures in the mid-80s. And we'll keep an eye out by the afternoon and evening for a couple of isolated showers and maybe even a couple of pop-up thunderstorms that could pack a bit of a punch by Friday evening. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Listen, save, enjoy. The WSIC app, available now in your app store.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Friday night, the monthly car show Hot Rods and Hops is back. RevFast hosts cool cars, food trucks, and beverages to kick off your weekend. We will see you at the Late Apex Storage Condos in Mooresville at 6 p.m. on Friday. The Kane Center for the Arts has gone to the dogs. Saturday will see the Stunt Dog Experience come to Cornelius. This cast of performers and stunt dogs will delight audiences of all ages with high energy excitement from beginning to end. For more information on these shows and many other programs, visit canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Ghostface Brewing in Marsville marks their 8-year anniversary with celebrations all week, culminating on Sunday with their monthly Rock the Lot outdoor concert series powered by Waves Entertainment. The event begins at 5 p.m. with the Pluto for Planet concert beginning at 6 p.m. Merle Fest is back April 25th through 28th at Wilkes Community College, featuring nearly 100 performers including Old Crow Medicine Show, Sam Bush, Turnpike Troubadours, the Teskey Brothers, Nickel Creek, and more. Tickets and information at merlefest.org. Listen.
On 1059 100.7 WSIC.
Woo! All right, we're here. It is segment 2. I got my water, by the way. The Tommy DeVito Cup. Gotta love it. All hail Tommy DeVito. Maybe the Panthers will sign him and he will be the saving face of the franchise. Because if you've been listening to the show, you know I don't think it's going to be Bryce Young. I'd love to be proven wrong, though. I would. We got a long way to go before football season begins. We still got hockey, basketball, baseball, soccer, the Olympics coming up. Plenty of things going on before we even have to worry about what's going on with the Panthers in football season. Although round 1 of the NFL draft does take place next week, actually 1 week from today, Panthers aren't participating in that first round. And please, 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 please do not trade up into the first round. Please don't do it. Just take your losses and move on. Start the rebuild. We were talking a little bit about high school lacrosse. There are some nationally ranked schools in the area. Yes, nationally ranked. You heard me correct. First of all, Lake Norman lacrosse has had one of the best seasons in the area. They are 11-4, ranked 3rd in the state of North Carolina. And not only that, they are 16th. I read that wrong. 68th. That's still really good. 68th in the country when it comes to high school lacrosse rankings. By the way, there are other schools as well that in the area are ranked just a little bit better than Lake Norman. Obviously, if Lake Norman is 3, there's 2 other teams, 2 other schools that are going to be a little bit better. Those 2 schools, as I have lost it. It went away. This computer makes me lose things all the time sometimes as I have it pulled up. I have so many tabs on this thing. You ever get angry about that? I do. Anyway, Charlotte Catholic down in Charlotte, obviously, and Cannon School in Concord both currently ranked higher than Lake Norman in the state. For Cannon, they are 29th nationally, and Charlotte Catholic, get this, they are 19th. Cannon 29th, Charlotte Catholic 19th, Lake Norman 68th. Those are national rankings. And there are some other good teams in the state as well. Mooresville lacrosse, they are 33rd in the state right now. Pine Lake, the boys lacrosse team over there, is 50th in the state. And yeah, so we got some good teams in the area. Now, they're not as well ranked nationally. Like Mooresville is 500th nationally, and Pine Lake is 944th nationally. But at least in the state of North Carolina, those schools are doing pretty good on the year. Speaking of the national rankings, right now, St. Andrews from Boca Raton, Florida, is the number one team in the country, 19-1 on the year. Scrolling through, you finally find Charlotte Catholic, as we said, 19th in the country when it comes to lacrosse. Now, they did drop a few spots nationally recently, which is unfortunate. But still being the number one team in the state of North Carolina, 19th nationally, this Charlotte Catholic team is going to make some noise. They are, because they have just been bullying their opponents this year. Very few games where the result was close. Now, they did play Cannon, Charlotte Catholic. Charlotte Catholic and Cannon, number 1 and 2 in the state of North Carolina. They played each other earlier in the year, back in March. And that ended up being a 14-11 victory for Charlotte Catholic. So they remain undefeated on the year, 17-0. Their next game coming up tomorrow against Audrey Kell. Like I said, those are the Charlotte area schools. For Lake Norman, they have a game today, and it's actually against that team that's right above them in the standings. Cannon, yes, Cannon School up in Concord. Their record this year is 11-3. Lake Norman is 11-4. That is a heavyweight battle right there. Whoever comes out the other end, they're going to get some love nationally, that's for sure, because those are two of the top teams in the state of North Carolina duking it out later on tonight. Now, there's another school in the area that has a lacrosse team, that's South Iredell. We don't want to spend too much time on that because, well, unfortunately, they are 0-12 with a tie as well. So 0-12-1 on the year. Do I want to talk? Yeah, sure. They nationally are ranked 2,124th. Yeet. It's okay, though. It's okay. Baseball team's doing good. Let's worry about the baseball team. So that is the high school lacrosse rankings in the area. Not every school in the area has lacrosse. Actually, a very select few do. And I know Huff High School as well. They have a good lacrosse team over there. But that's the situation in lacrosse right now. Let's go ahead and move on to other things going on around the sports world. I wanted to talk about this story a little bit yesterday, but kind of just got wrapped up in everything else I wanted to talk about that I didn't have a chance to bring it on. ESPN released an article about Bill Belichick and the fact that he did not get a job this year as a head coach. Well, the Panthers were mentioned in that article. And here is the quick little excerpt from the article. Here it is. The Carolina Panthers briefly discussed Belichick before he signed his 2-year extension with New England a year ago. But this offseason, Carolina decided to pass. Panthers owner David Tepper often sifts through data to critique his coach's play calling. That, according to his source, is tough to do with Belichick as the figurehead. The Panthers opted for the 42-year-old offensive coordinator, Dave Canales. Anybody see the problem with that sentence there? A businessman David Tepper, critiques his coach's play calling? Are you joking? That has to be a joke. There's absolutely no way that this man, David Tepper, sits down with his coaches and says, why did you call this play on 3rd and 2? 2nd and 10, it was the second quarter. Why did you start it off with a screen? What do you know about football, my guy? You're a businessman. And this is my concern. Why is he sticking his head places where it doesn't need to be? I thought we learned something already. I thought we learned from last year, the year before that. No. He still has to have his hands in the pot, stir it up, and you're going to do what I say when I say it. Terrible. Just terrible. Why are you doing this? Do not critique your coach's play calling. That is not your job. It is not. As the owner of the team, I'm sorry, but that's not your job. You hire someone else to do that. Someone who knows football. David Tepper's a businessman, not a football man. He hasn't spent his life coaching. He hasn't spent his life being a GM. That really rubbed me the wrong way when I read that article. I hope that eventually he stops doing this, because as long as David Tepper is critiquing the play calling of his coaches, there's going to be problems. There's going to be big problems, because it's going to get out to all the coaches around, and I'm sure they already know. Why do you think they had to hire a coordinator and not a former head coach? That David Tepper is going to sit you down at the end of the year and say, what were you doing with these play calls? That's not your job. Get your hand out of the football business. You hired people to do a job, so let them do it. And if it doesn't work, then you fire them at the end of the year, the way you've done it every single year since you own the team. I don't know why Tepper thinks that it's okay for him to critique his coach's play calling. Why don't you just go coach the team yourself, guy? All right? You're the owner. Do it. Go coach the team. I wonder if we'll ever get somebody from management over there. I doubt it. The way I call out David Tepper for the bad business moves that he makes, I don't think I'm ever going to hear from him, unfortunately. That bridge might be burned already. Oops. But it's true. What are you doing? You don't know football. I'm sorry, you don't. You can pretend like you do, but you don't. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And I do believe that. I have a hard time having faith in the Panthers. Not the team, not the coaching staff, the owner. These teams that have meddling owners do not do well. They don't. So that's the situation with the Panthers. I didn't think they were going to get Belichick. That wasn't even the thing that I was worried about with the story about Belichick. I'm worried about the fact that it is a known thing that David Tepper goes through the play calling of his head coaches. Not a good look. We're going to head to a break. We'll move on from this. You're listening to The Scoreboard. Be back right after this.
More of sports director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, staying mild in the overnight hours as temperatures dip down to around 60. Again, with a mostly clear sky. For our Friday, we're still warm. Not quite as warm as our Thursday, though. A partly cloudy sky with temperatures in the mid-80s. And we'll keep an eye out by the afternoon and evening for a couple of isolated showers, and maybe even a couple of pop-up thunderstorms that could pack a bit of a punch by Friday evening. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Yes, spring is here, and at Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville, Randy Marion Ford Lincoln, we want to make sure your vehicle is in tip-top shape, ready for the spring driving months, moving right into summer. Bring that vehicle by one of the locations here in Statesville. Let us do a complimentary multi-point vehicle check for you, just to make sure everything's good to go. Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville, Randy Marion Ford Lincoln. You know where we are?
Get in to Randy Marion Chevrolet, Randy Marion Ford in Statesville.
Hello, everyone. This is Joshua Doby, president of North Main Financial Group. At North Main Financial Group, we move to where you need us: investment management, insurance planning, and estate strategies. No two people are the same, so we customize our planning based upon your needs. Reach out to us at northmainfinancial.com. That's northmainfinancial.com.
At Bunch Johnson Funeral Home, our service to families is second to none. We're here for you when you need it most. Let us help you focus on healing. We'll handle the rest. Bunch Johnson Funeral Home.
WSIC is looking for the best teacher in all of Lake Norman.
Oh, it's definitely our teacher.
Then go to WSIC's Instagram page and cast your vote. A winner will be picked each month on Good Morning LKN.
Brought to you by Nina's Boutique and Brighter Smiles of Davidson. Has anybody seen our teacher?
She's definitely accepting her award.
Tilly Harley-Davidson is simply the best, and their service department is second to none. Right now, 1K, 5K, and 10K M8 service is only $351.25 plus tax, including SIN 3 and heavy gear oil. Stop by to schedule your next service or online at tillyhd.com. Be road ready with Tilly of Statesville.
Okay, I'm talking funny because I'm in the witness.
All right, everyone, welcome back. We are halfway through here on the scoreboard. 844-STUDIO 4 is the phone number. 844-788-3464. Call me up. You could be a part of the program today. We're going to get into NASCAR. I think that's what we'll do next. We've been neglecting it a little bit, but it's Talladega. I mean, you can't predict it. You know they're going to crash. I don't have anything profound to say about the race, other than it might not happen until Monday. I'm looking at the weather report for Lincoln, Alabama, which is where Talladega Superspeedway is located. There is a 90% chance of precipitation on Sunday, the highest at 10 a.m. By 4 p.m., it's still about a 40% chance of rain. And like I said earlier, there's no lights at that track. I don't get it. I don't understand how in the year 2024, with how much money these organizations are worth, NASCAR, the teams themselves, and how much purse money they give out every year. Over $8 million for Talladega this weekend, by the way. How can you not build lights at the track? Everybody would love a nighttime race at Talladega. Well, except for host of the Home Ad Show, Patrick Reynolds. For some reason, he said that he doesn't want lights at Talladega. I don't know why. It really doesn't make sense to me. But so on Sunday, we may have a rain out. Saturday looks okay, though. There's a slight chance of rain, 20%. And Saturday, we actually have a lot of events going on. So here is the weekend schedule for you at Talladega. And it starts on Friday with practice for the ARCA Series and qualifying for the Xfinity Series. Then on Saturday, early on, we have 10:30 a.m. qualifying for the Cup cars. 12:30, we have the General Tire 200. That is the ARCA race. And then at 4 o'clock, the AG Pro 300 as the Xfinity race. Sunday's race is scheduled for 3 o'clock. That would be the Geico 500. You can watch the race, or you can listen to the race, right here on WSIC. Coverage for that will begin at 2 p.m., presented this week by MRN. That would be the Motor Racing Network. I hope that the Super Speedway is just as good as what we saw at Daytona, because it was actually a pretty decent race. We talked a lot leading up to that about how there really isn't much passing that was going on under this package when it comes to Super Speedway racing. But Daytona and the 500, there was a decent amount, so it wasn't bad. I don't know if Talladega is going to be any different or any better. I would hope that it's better, but my fear is that we eventually run into a fuel mileage race where they're just coasting around 3/4 throttle, staying in line, trying to save as much gas as possible. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. We'll have to wait till Monday, more than likely, because they're not going to race Talladega in the rain, although that would be amazing. A rain night race at Talladega. Yes. I just fixed NASCAR. Look at that. It's that easy. I'm like NASCAR. I make it up as I go. I make up the rules. Nothing's set in stone. Whatever I say, yeah, it works. It's fine. 844-STUDIO-4. That's 844-788-3464. One of the rookies this year is Carson Hocevar. Here is what he talks about. Here's what he has to say about the difference between the Cup cars in the draft and the trucks in the draft.
It's actually pretty similar. Obviously the bumpers line up a little bit more in the Cup cars, a little bit more stiff, so you can kind of lock on a little easier. But the draft itself, when it works out, it's actually pretty similar, and you can get a little bit more organized. Obviously in the Cup car, I think it's just more depth of 20, 30 guys really know how to push and really find their limits, where in the truck, there's a little bit more of a skill gap there of just experience and knowledge of how to give a push and how to time momentum and runs. But they're actually, I think, a lot similar. It would kind of be always around the bottom, and then the top could form. But when the bottom's really organized, the bottom's pretty dominant.
I'm interested to see what Hocevar can do this weekend. He's had an okay year. At the beginning of the year, we heard his name a lot. He was up in the front of the pack quite a bit. But as of late, not much from him and his team over there. Now, one thing that I found interesting, and this was a stat that was released earlier today, if you add up the margin of victory in every single Ryan Blaney Talladega win, they would still be less than half a second. I'm sorry, less than a second. Every time Ryan Blaney won at Talladega, it was a photo finish. Every single time. He has 3 Talladega wins, 3 photo finishes. One with Ricky Stenhouse, one with Kevin Harvick, and the closest one with Ryan Newman. Here's what Blaney says about where he wants to be when that white flag drops.
Gosh, you kind of got to be in like the first 3 rows. The first 3 rows, you're kind of doing something. You're contributing to that lane. If you're 4th, 5th row on back, you're not really doing anything to that lane. Like, you can shove all you want, but you're just kind of stacking everybody up. So the first 3 cars kind of do something. So that's really where you want to be. And then just depends on the situation you're in. If you're leading your row, okay, your job has changed from when you're 2nd or 3rd. So you just kind of figure out what spot you're in, and you just hope that you get a chance, on the last lap to kind of poke out there and get a good run at the good time, or block the run that is coming. So first 3 rows.
In 9 of the last 11 Talladega races, the final green flag stretch was 2 laps or less. If you're not in the top 3 for that final restart, as Blaney says, it's going to be tough for you to get the win. Now, this all changes. He's talking about a big pack, but if it's a small pack, like everybody wrecked out and there's 15 cars and 10 of them are hurt, it's going to be a lot more shuffling, and you could probably win from 10th on the white flag because, well, there's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of people breaking the draft, momentum loss, things like that. But he's right. We have seen it time and time again with this car. You want to be in those first few rows. And the argument of you want to be the leader on the white flag versus you don't want to be the leader on the white flag, I always expect them to crash on the white flag lap. Always. I figure, you know what? They're going to get crazy. There's going to be a crash. The thing that the drivers have no control over is even if they're in first and there is a crash, maybe they don't throw the caution flag, right? NASCAR makes it up as they go. You got a car wrecking at a turn 1, but they're in the grass. They're out of the way. We're not gonna throw the caution. Let them race it to the line. And then the guy leading gets passed coming to the line. It's happened before. The most memorable of the recent ones that I can remember is the 2020 Daytona 500. Chase Elliott spun out going into turn 1 on the final lap. They did not throw the caution flag. Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Ryan Newman duked it out for the win. And, well, if you remember how that one goes, that's all I'm going to say. One more segment here on the Scoreboard on this Thursday. We're going to talk about the NHL and the NBA next. Don't go anywhere. We have a new NHL team coming. Well, a relocation. I'll explain. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this. And you might be wondering, why does all that matter? Why do we need to know what the rest of the East is doing? Well, because the Carolina Hurricanes are going to play the winner of that Washington-New York series. Now, if you're Carolina, you're probably rooting for Washington. Although I always caution people who say, we want to play this team over this team. You got to be very careful what you wish for, because if you do that, you might have a situation like Toronto last year where the Maple Leafs fans were chanting in the stadium, "We want Florida." And then they got obliterated by Florida. It was actually quite comical. So be careful if you're wishing to play a certain team, okay? Anyway, that's what's going on in the NHL. The season ends today. It's not very important for the Hurricanes. There's still some shuffling that can go on, but nothing that we need to keep our eyes on for the sake of the Hurricanes. Also, Sidney Crosby tied a record for the best age 36 season in NHL history. At 36 years old, Sidney Crosby tied Teemu Selanne and Jean Rattel with 94 points on the year at 36 years old. Crosby, for his career, 1,272 games played, 1,272 games played, 1,596 assists. I think if he plays for 3 more years, he's going to get 2,000 points. And there's only one other player in the history of the NHL to hit 2,000 career points. And that was the man we just talked about, Wayne Gretzky. He really stands on a mountain alone when it comes to stats in the NHL. That's all that we have for you today on the scoreboard. Not enough time to get into the NBA, but just know tomorrow we have the final play-in games on this day in sports history. Let's see if I can get a quick one in here. LA Dodgers pitcher Sandy Koufax strikes out the side on 9 pitches for Major League best 3rd time in his career. For anybody that doesn't know, that is called an immaculate inning. 9 pitches, all of them strikes, 3 strikeouts. That's how you do it. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. We got Friday coming up tomorrow. We'll preview the weekend. It's going to be a packed sports weekend. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Until then, have a great night, everyone.
Serving you better than ever before.